that there's been so many things.
I feel bad. Is it my connection or you? Did we get an ad
There we
break?
go.
Was that an ad break?
Yes. Yep. The StreamYard is quacking on us now.
It's working better now.
Yes.
A little bit better. But I don't know if it's mine or not. It's probably mine. It always is.
Yes, and if pro wrestling has the same equal injuries as football, both from the UK and America, also they have a lot of the same amount of injuries.
What what about boxing?
That too, also, yes.
Or to be like, I can relate to that. I wrestled this evening, and there was a hardcore rumble, and me and one of my friends decided to do a sword fight, and it was a sword fight with kendo sticks, not actual swords. And the moment we hit the first kendo sticks across the swords, the kendo stick exploded and tore all the skin off my knuckles. So, like, why? It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Wow. Yes. Yep. And definitely these naysayers that want to rip on pro wrestling, using the words is not real and fake, so they disrespecting and they doesn't understand the reality of pro wrestling and how much so many wrestlers and got to go through and everything.
No, I know, but we now, what's the word? You avoid the F words and you just say it's sports entertainment. That's better than.
Yes, definitely work.
That's
Definitely
the
a
only
work.
thing you have to do.
Yes.
When was the
And
first?
you said the first?
No, I was trying to remember the first time I realized it was a work when I was watching it when I was younger. It was an episode of, I think it was Raw, and Austin picks up Triple H with the crane and then drops him, and then he's on TV 3 days later. I was like, oh no. Why?
Wow.
They might be right. That was the one that's always stuck in my brain.
Wow. Yeah, I think one of mine was when, I guess, in that 92 with Papa Shango in the Ultimate Warrior, and Warrior got sick from the voodoo cloth and everything.
Oh, was it black ink that was coming out of his mouth? I think it was the black ink. I think it was.
Yes. Yeah, that was it also. Yes, it was cheesy, but it was so interested.
Papa Shango used to scare me when I was younger, and then he turned into the wonderful Godfather. Even though I prefer the Good Father when he was in Right to Censor, that was good.
Yes. Yes. Even when he was an MMA fighter, also Kama the fighting machine.
Oh yes.
And that's another thing. Right when I first seen him, right there, doing that gimmick, and I said that he paying tribute to the music group cameo.
Oh no. Now I'm gonna. That's actually the good thing about Netflix now, because you can go back and watch all of that now. But because they've got all, like, it's all mostly the Attitude Era stuff, so it's all a lot of people are watching now. So I'm just like, oh, I remember that. I remember watching that in the house. Now it was so long ago.
Yes. And it's yeah, that's amazing partnership with Netflix and WWE. Even it it's like more it's like the world is watching at simultaneously a live wrestling every Monday
I
night.
know. I still don't know how they do it. I really, because I didn't know. Because I thought it was going to be pre-taped again, but then when they announced we're going to do it live, I was like, how do you put live TV through Netflix? Because I thought it was just a library thing. I didn't know it was actual able to stream as well.
Yes. Yep, it's just amazing. Even though they still trying to work on interruptions because of so many people streaming.
I know, but you're never gonna get that. They won't ever get it right. No one's ever gonna get that right.
Right.
Because even the network was a little bit glitchy when it first came out, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also they do have a working agreement with TNA Wrestling, and so they using TNA even at the on that major pay per views, even and they mostly be on NXT and or TNA Impact. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I know. It would be just a matter of time before they have everything again.
Yes.
Everything just under one umbrella. I don't know if I'd like it or not, because there wouldn't be any more variation. Everybody's just going to be in the same place. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with competition.
Right. And the best thing about this with the TNA and WWE deal, they do 50-50 booking and everything, and it's
Oh yeah.
yes, it seems like it's good. It done very well and everything, and they protect both sides protect their wrestlers.
Oh yeah. No, you have to, and they have to start making stars again. At least, but they've got a new roster, so it'd be easier to do.
Yes. And then also it's just amazing to see how they let the former WWE wrestlers um, that were released in the past or present um, work employed by TNA, and still they they still show up at NXT or their or special events.
Yeah. It's just opening up new doors and avenues for everyone.
Yes,
Hopefully.
right. But with Vince McMahon, I think that he wouldn't even do it that much if he was running the company more than Triple H. I would think that he would just had one of them show up on their Royal Rumble, and I think that was it. I don't think that he would have had another wrestling company to be putting over like that. I think that wouldn't even happen.
There's different mindsets and different ways of booking. It will definitely be a new way of booking. Yeah.
Yes, and it's just amazing also, and so their competition is AEW. So they definitely using this TNA working relationship um, to outshine AEW or any other wrestling promotion.
Of what's actually left.
Yes.
Yeah, because AEW would be their only remaining NWA. Can't think of any more. Japan.
Yeah, yeah, you have Major League Wrestling also. That's also working with New Japan.
Oh no. Oh. And then you've got, well, it's now Marigold and Stardom. And then
Yes,
they have those with their working relationship.
yes,
And of course,
yes,
Seedling.
yes, yes. And what's your thoughts of the landscape of women wrestling today?
There's more variation. There was like way back when there was a prototype of what you had to be. And now there's so many different women, so many different characters, so many different shapes and sizes, colors, creeds. It's I, I I never thought that I'd live in a time where there was an explosion of women's wrestling, especially internationally.
Yes, um, it's just so many variations. Even the women making the PWI 500,
Hmm.
the best women every year, and it's just amazing. I have never seen a huge so many names like this in women wrestling. It's like it feel like 15 years ago it was maybe like 20 names I can know off bat, or not
That's
that
true.
many, um maybe a few names on the indies, but I give it to Japan, women's wrestling, having more, causing the US to start drawing their women's wrestling from the indies, like Shimmer and or WSU, Women's Superstars Uncensored. They was basically having those ladder matches, or even like 60-minute matches for women, and it's like wrestlers, all the major wrestler companies pushing start stepping their game up. Even TNA with the Knockouts division, and WWE follows with
Mhm.
the Divas and the women's wrestling returning.
No, it's true. And it's opened a lot more doors and eyes on places like Japan, where they would only hear mainly of the stars, the gaijin that will go over to Japan. You didn't really hear that much about the Joshi girls.
Not at all. Mm, but it's you hear more and more also, even with Ring of Honor, bring bringing over international talent from the UK or Japan. It started getting more people had eyes on the product, even with TNA knockouts, and so AEW started bringing more. They wanted more women's wrestling. They had, now they have Ring of Honor and AEW women, even with singles women's belts for top promotions in America. It's just it just make it equal to the men. Um, it's just amazing, and even main eventing all the shows in the major companies. There we go. Yes, we back on.
Yeah, it really doesn't like us today.
Nope. Yep, they double teaming us like YouTube. StreamYard is making a
It really.
hill turn. That's,
Oh,
it just remind me of even with the Monday Night Wars with DX taking over the control rooms or the NWO on Nitro.
they should have let them in. I have say it to this day. They should have let them in. Because
Yes,
imagine what would have happened. Or at least do something. Or they should have at least got to fire the tank, because that's all that anybody wanted to see.
yes,
Just into a window. That's hopefully not hitting anyone.
yeah, that's true. Also, what's your thoughts on working with L.A. Taylor recently?
It was an interesting match because it was the first time in a long time that there was somebody that was the same build or the same size as me. I'm not used to it, especially for that match. I literally had just come back from Japan, so in my head, I'm used to these little tiny women just flying around me, and then now I generally have to fight back. It was interesting
Yes.
to be on the other side.
Wow. Yes. Definitely 6'1", going at it.
I know it was weird because it's just that literally is the first and only. No, tell a lie. I did wrestle Queen Maya from Italy. She, I think, is 6'3". I think, yeah, but that was a very, 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 very long time ago.
Yes. Yes, and they definitely have it in WWE also with Raquel Rodriguez and Nia Jax also. I think they're going to be working again sometime this year for for a singles match for could be the IC belt, women's belt could be involved with it. So they the biggest women on the roster.
Mm. It's just nice to see more, like I said before, more variation. Not everybody's the same size. Not everybody's the same build. Like it's useful now. Then the
Yes,
matches aren't as predictable as they used to be. The giant
right,
versus a small person.
right. Yes, and it just I just like how it's built. Also, even with the Royal Rumble, you had the time clock card, and also the women's where they're from representing their flag from their country, and it was well done.
Like I said, it's a new way of booking.
Yes,
It can definitely
Def-
tell that it's gone 360 now.
yes. What's your thoughts of meeting Triple H behind the scenes?
It was interesting because he was such. I mean, like I said, but we know it's a work. He was such a nice person. You could tell he really, really cared about like installing something in the women's division with the women's revolution. Like you could see that he really wanted it to be something. Especially somebody who's got daughters. That's literally genius. His
Right,
daughters are now at the age where they have actual athletes. I'm not saying that there weren't athletes before, but more athletic women, more. like I said before, variation, and that's what they get to see at this age. I wish I had that at that age, because I
Yes.
think usually on a roster you would have what, maybe 6 women, that be it, and now there's like, we don't even know how many. I mean, there
It's
was
like 20.
32 at the Classic.
Yeah, it's about, I'll give it 30 to 30 to 40 women now on WWE roster from NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, and
Man,
they also have the Performance Center students, so they have a lot investment.
the roster has definitely grown. It is a different place of having, like I said, probably 6 women on a roster, and then being able to build an entire show involving 32 to maybe 40 women.
Yes, that is true. I still remember those days, the Attitude Era with Sable and Luna and Jacqueline also, and Ivory.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
about,
else and Terry, or
yes,
Terry and Tori and China.
yes, yes. And you had usually Mae Young and Moolah showing up.
Every now and again. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And now I feel like we're forgetting someone. Oh, Leah, Trish. But that would be
Yes.
much later.
Yes. I will say they were still in between it's still the Attitude Era with them also. They was part of that also.
Yeah, but then I think Lita was only a valet. She didn't really wrestle that much, and Trish. No, Lita was wrestling. Trish was only a valet, like
Yes.
within TNA,
Yes.
and whomever else she was managing at the time. I can't remember else.
All right. And I'll just say, I'll say the Ruthless Era with Brock Lesnar. That's when Trish started becoming a full-time wrestler.
Yeah, which is such a blur, and it seems like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't. What, 10
Oh,
years
right.
was that era?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been 10 years ago. But it seems like it was forever ago.
Yes. It was like round the corner.
I know. That's how much has changed in such a short time.
Right. And definitely you had the Undertaker, you had the Undertaker stable during that time with the corporate ministries, and then you also had a resurgence of the Undertaker with the American Badass, and I think that was the real. It's like he added his real life, um, get, the real life Mark Calloway on a biker is still doing some of his mean Mark
And
added to it.
this is a question for you. In terms of his music, what would you prefer? Rolling or the corporate ministry music?
The corporate ministry.
I'm glad you that's the correct answer. Because that
Yes,
was a
and
tune.
right. I just wasn't a big fan of the biker taker.
What, you
Um,
couldn't believe you couldn't fall for it? No? I
no,
just like
not
the
really.
music.
Yes, only when he became a heel, when he was riding a bike as a heel and trying to get the belt off of Hogan or anyone else. That was, I think that was the best part of him um, as a bike rider, heel, when he was start sneak attacking people in the even in the bathroom, even going after Ric Flair's son.
Oh, I know. I felt so sorry for him. It really looked like he did like destroyed him. Didn't he put his head through a toilet as well? I can
Yes.
remember him having the toilet seat over his head. Oh. And I always felt sorry for Ric Flair in those matches. His hair would literally go from like the nice bleach blonde to just red. I'm like, oh.
Yes. Still remember those matches he had. Those he was bleeding like a stuffed pig, and
I couldn't. That's one thing I've never ever done. Never. There's been no blade job. I've never ever ever. I can't. I know. You can hit me with whatever you want to hit me with. I'm not gigging. I can't do it.
yes. And but that was the best thing I really liked was when they buried the Undertaker and he came back um, as the Dark Side Undertaker once again.
Oh, everybody was happy when that happened. But to be
Yeah.
fair, the newer version of the Dark Undertaker, I would say, is like a mix between it. It's the midway point between the American Badass and the old Undertaker. Because
Yes.
even though he was supposed to be scary, it was still kind of, well, for that era, it was like a comic book character, but it was supposed to
Yes.
be scary.
Yes.
And then Ministry Undertaker was just terrifying. So
Right.
I liked it, but it literally used to scare me.
Yes. And I noticed that his style of wrestling changed even with he doing more MMA moves.
Yeah, because he started that from the American Badass side, because he started wearing the gloves.
Yes.
But those gloves hurt. So someone's punched me with those gloves before. And I'm like, that's just oh. I thought they were supposed to be padded.
Yes. And
It's,
yes, it seemed like he was more a timid. Even the younger wrestlers were still sort of like intimidated of him backstage, and but they still listened to him. If Undertaker give them advice, and he was a locker room leader for years in WWE.
he's literally a general. He was
Yes,
always the judge when they did Wrestlers Court, wasn't he?
yes,
I think he was.
and it was also amazing to see him as a kid to see him and Andre the Giant. I think they was in the same ring at a house show together, and um, it was Andre came to his rescue, I think, but he was going after um, the earthquake John Tennant at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think this
For
was
me, so,
when he set on Damien his snake, and yeah, I think he killed him. He injured killed Damien, or and he made it was Damien Burgers on the next week of Superstars of Wrestling, and it was
what
crazy.
what did he call the other snake? It was Damien and
Lucifer,
because there were two. Lucifer, of course.
yes, yes, that was. I think that was when um I mean, that was when Jake the Snake became a heel from the Ultimate Warrior. He sabotaged the Ultimate Warrior's
Oh yeah,
experience.
that was my brother's favorite wrestler, the Ultimate Warrior. I couldn't
Yes,
go get past the colors. It was too bright for me.
yes. Yes, I was a early Hulk Hogan. I was more Hogan um, fan than Warrior, but later on I became a Warriors fan after he defeated Hogan at WrestleMania.
I only like Hogan in NWO. That's my favorite Hogan. But
Yeah,
and Mr. America Hogan. You got to keep Mr. America.
yes, yes, that was my favorite. Also, when Hogan made a heel turn, and I started that got me more into more heels in wrestling than ever.
No, I know. Me too. I mean, if you didn't have that, we wouldn't have had DX. We wouldn't. It was when you could be a heel and it would still be fun.
Right. Yes. Even with John Cena turning heel, and it still doesn't measure up with Hogan and the NWO heel turn. But I gave it was the right time for Cena to turn. But I just wish Cena would have at least go out like it should have happened a couple years ago.
And I don't think he should have ever turned face. I mean, he was technically a heel when he started, but
Yes.
it was Marky Mark on TV, so everybody was gonna laugh anyway. So liked, but he could have done it ages ago, and he could have had so much fun with it. It could
Yes.
have been Hollywood Cena.
Yes, and I can imagine him growing a beard also like Hogan or something like that to make it
Dying his hair blonde. Oh,
right.
that's terrifying to think about.
And then especially the hip, he got to have hill music, hill hip hop music.
What would that even be? No, you can't, because I think no. It would probably go back to no. You couldn't do the Thugonomics on it. It would be too sad. It would be really sad.
I got something like a hardcore rap sound beat to it, and
But he couldn't rap it. No, or would it be funny if he did?
right.
Would he be able to be? I don't know. I know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
just
buy
don't
it
see
now.
him right. I just don't
Yeah, I
see
don't,
him doing a new style of rap. I just can't.
because it would be. It's weird. It would just be him being angry because he couldn't swear like when he was the Thugonomics person.
Right.
He, or would he be able to swear? Would they allow him to? They might allow him.
Yes. Now since they on Netflix and
That's true.
but I think since they I think they're going to push the envelope even more and more because of Mattel Toys. I think their deal about to expire soon, and I think they're going to have I think they're going to make their own action figures and other accessories.
Oh yeah. I always forget about those. Because everyone's gotten now obsessed with DVDs and Netflix and the network. I always forget that they actually still do action figures.
Yes.
The amount of money they'll probably lose from Cena's one alone.
Yes. But they were saying that he's no longer part of Make a Wish, and that's more Bianca Belair doing, and a few others. Like I think Cody Rhodes probably part of it now.
Yeah, no, he couldn't. Well, but those poor children, they'll probably still ask. But no, not as a heel, he couldn't do it. It wouldn't
Right.
work. There's too
Right.
much TV. If there was no internet, it would work because nobody would ever see it apart from those children. But now, no, you wouldn't be able to buy it.
Right. And I just hope they do a good job. I think they're gonna have a kid as maybe as a plant, and Cena talking to him, and he t- um he do a Hollywood Hogan promo on him. So like say you and these kids can stick it.
I would want him to do the Ted DiBiase type promo where he kind of like challenges the kid to something and then just kicks the ball away. That's being a heel.
Yes.
As long as the child doesn't cry. I think I made a child cry today. As my wrestling character, not in the real world.
There we go.
It really doesn't like us today.
Right. I guess they don't agree with Cena being a heel.
It's because you can't see. Not even the stream likes it.
Right.
You can't even say his name anymore.
Awesome.
As a heel, he should change his name to Jonathan Cena.
Yeah, that I can see that working also. I don't
But
think Johnny Cena.
No. And he has to speak in a really, really bad British accent for no reason whatsoever.
Right. Yep. He's like the older version of Mark Wahlberg now in movies.
That's true. Oh, he really is Marky Mark.
Then there's also other famous actors that he remind me of. The comedian that played the in those comedy movie Ernest. They compare that John Cena looked like him.
What was his name? I can't remember his name. I know who you're talking about.
Right.
I can only remember the character's name.
Yes.
That's going to bug me into the end of the earth now.
There was the Black John Cena also.
Yes, there was. What happened to him? What was his name? Darren
Young, yes.
There we go. That would have been, see, that's exactly when he should have turned heel. That would have been awesome. They could pretend to do twin magic and it doesn't work.
Yes. Yes. Vince McMahon just didn't know how to use Darren Young. That he could have went further as the black version of the Cena when he was Thugonomics. That I think that could have had a long feud with John Cena.
No,
even both of them as a tag team.
Or even if he's here now, as Cena's all suited and booted most of the time, he could have been seen as Virgil, like a duplicate Virgil.
Yes.
Oh, wait, can you do that now?
I think it's possible. I think Darren Young he was doing most of New Japan, USA, and Japan work the last time I've seen him.
Oh, really good. But they could have done so much more. So much. Yes. Well, to be fair, it's because they didn't have to. I think they should have played more on the fact that he looked like Cena, because we all knew it, and I think Cena only said it once in a promo, like one time.
Yes.
And it was never acknowledged ever again, apart from us blatantly seeing it.
Yes. And I think that was when Vince didn't care. It's like I think once he bought WCW, that Vince got more. I don't know if it's lazy or too cocky as a promoter,
or complacent in his ideas. Is what usually happens.
Yes. And but I think that Cena probably didn't want to have a longer career like Hogan, probably because he was trying to protect his body. Now he's more comfortable being an actor.
Yeah, because we see what happens when you keep doing it for way too long, way too long.
Yes.
And remember as well, he's getting like money from movies. You can't mess up his face or his body.
Right. And I think the Wayne Johnson got more comfortable with his role. I think once he tried to be on a comedy show Saturday Night Live in the Attitude Era, I think that got him more interest in being a movie star.
Yeah, but they may. The only one thing I never liked about um Dwayne Johnson's like time in acting is when they did The Mummy Returns. They why did they CGI him? He looked ridiculous. Like
Yes.
it did, and it was just so bad. It was just so bad. They could have. He had the body. He was in the first scene when you were showing the Scorpion King. So I'm sure that they could have. I don't know. Maybe computerized the legs only and still used him, but they just it didn't look right. Maybe if they did it now because of 4K, it'd probably look a lot better,
Yes.
a lot better. But yeah,
Yeah.
that film was almost 20 years ago. Oh no.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like 20 or 25 years ago. Yes, and I think that was when when they was with the more people was watching eyes on wrestling. It felt like 12 to 20 million fans during those eras right there of the Monday Night Wars,
Mm.
and now Triple H trying to regain, and or even AEW or TNA trying to regain all the fans back from that wasn't interest in the product doing Vince when Vince was running the whole show.
At least you get the fan group back. I always
Yes,
say that when I watch the ones that they've uploaded on Netflix. Like you can look at the numbers and how did we go from that many people to entire sections being blacked out?
yes, yes. Especially I've seen it on more of AEW TV now. Since once it's like once Cody left, even the booking, and even as a wrestler back to WWE, it's like they was losing viewership year by year AEW, and now they using more smaller arenas than bigger arenas now.
Oh, oh, that's sad.
Yes, because the UK they had that big um, they had like 74,000 fans, and the next year it got smaller to I think their attendance was almost uh, half of that, maybe like 53 or 54,000.
One of the reasons is most people now are broke. Thank you, COVID.
Right. Or even now that AEW has like it feel like 200 wrestlers on their roster than any other company, and you don't see half of them on on their TV programs.
Sure, sure.
Yes, and I think it was several unhappy wrestlers there, and they finally got their releases that they wanted. Like Miro, also the former Rusev, I think he's going back to WWE. Also, Alex the Black, he was unhappy there, so he could be on WWE roster real soon to join his wife Selena again.
Oh yeah, she is there, isn't she?
Yes. Even Phoenix, also Pentagon's brother, is on his way to WWE as well.
I'm gonna see an explosion of. There's gonna be like. To be fair, they've got two more. No, one they've acquired because they've acquired TNA. They've got an entire roster to basically revamp.
Right. Yes, they do have their a working agreement with with TNA also, and this the strange thing about TNA is it's the owners Leonard Ashford. He's too cheap to pay wrestlers what they worth, like they were before when Scott D'Amore was was the president of TNA.
The only experience that in British wrestling.
Yes.
There was a. I got told when I moved up to Scotland that there was a promoter that did the same thing. He didn't want to pay people what they were worth because he thought that what was it? It was women and the little people that they would use are just they should get experience wages. I can't remember who it was. That's the only time I've heard somebody doing that.
Yes.
If I remember who it is, I'll let you know.
Yeah, and even though he's a billionaire and everything, they just purchased a Hollywood company that distribute movies, and they do movies now for 75 million. Since the pandemic, they purchased them. Even women's wrestling, that they just purchased Avencia MMA group also during the pandemic, and they also the new owners of Access TV. They bought it from former NBA owner Mark Cuban.
Wow.
But the only thing they don't pay enough for TV deals or nothing.
But it's so much easier to do TV for you can do it for nothing. Well,
Yes,
kind of.
and right. It seemed like that he doesn't want to shop around for them to get maybe $100 million deal from these TV networks like Fox or even the USA Network. I think that would be the best option right there because a lot of people don't have Access TV that has like maybe 45 or 50 million viewers, and they get low. I think the highest numbers they had on the network was only from TNA Wrestling for maybe like 200,000 viewers, and I think what happened was they lost some deals for viewerships from certain partnerships. So I think the best way for them is to maybe be on Peacock or Fox or USA Network since they have a WWE working relationship deal.
Oh, that's true. True.
Yes, because they lost money from their streaming deal with maybe for like I think it was like $160 a year for the watch the TV show and with all 12 pay per views, and they now cut it. They made it like $20 cheaper recently, but I think they should to go on like for streaming for the Peacock, or even be on Thursday night on USA Network. This will make up the revenue for them to use it for wrestling contracts. They can increase their contracts and bring in more wrestlers. And I know they have 44 wrestlers on the contract, but this will make have him have more money in his pockets instead of their streaming network, the Fight Network. It will have 10 times the money they bring in. They got to establish the name, and once they get to maybe 600,000 viewers one day in the future, maybe they can go back to their streaming. They can finally bring back that streaming network.
Maybe. But the only problem with the streaming network is it kind of it boxes you because you don't get that much outreach.
Yes.
If they have their own streaming network, if they go onto something like Netflix, it at least opens up the opportunity a little bit for more. Oh no, we have a visitor. My dog just woke up. I'm so sorry. Gog, no. Bless him. Sorry, he's only a baby. So if you hear a bell kind of going off, I make him wear a bell because I'm afraid I'm going to lose him. So he wears a bell.
Yes. Those alert collars.
I was meant to get one of those, but it tracks the dog as well, and you can put it on your phone.
Wow. Yes, this technology.
I know. Technology that he doesn't like. He's actually
Right.
been quite good. He usually doesn't like phones.
Wow.
He's done well. I think he's just tired.
Yes. Who would you like to work with? That you haven't worked with right now.
I haven't worked with. I've always wanted to have a match with Yoshiko from Seedling, or from when we were in Stardom to now that we were in Seedling together. I've always wanted to wrestle Yoshiko, but I know you said I didn't wrestle before, but I want to wrestle this new improved Jamie Hayter.
Yes.
I think that would be a nice little match. I think it would be a good match because we both changed a lot. So I think it would just be interesting. And
Yes.
if I could again wrestle Julia, Julia from Marigold, she just came over to, is it NXT she's on now?
Yes.
Haven't, because the last time we wrestled, it was funny. I was entered into, they do the Yokohama tournaments, and it's the young generation tournament, and it was funny because I was doing a young generation tournament, and I was twice everybody else's age. It was terrible.
Wow.
It was always funny because it went, Amazon, not young. I'm like, it's not my fault. You asked me to do this.
Wow. Yes, there's so many women that's in the business. It's just like the music industry, like the hip hop industry now is. I think once you had the Nicki Minaj, now you have the Cardi B's, and they have indie rap artists that's now on major labels, and it seems like it's. I always tie that to the women's wrestling scene now, and it's like it's like more opportunity. It's like the floodgates is open also.
I know. and it's a good thing as it came from a time of women fighting over one match to there probably being about 3 or 4 or even 5 women's matches on one card because
Yes.
there's so much more to select and choose from.
Yes. Also, I do believe that WWE gonna have a one day in the future like a WrestleMania in the UK, and um, um, I bet you'd be the first one to sign up for it, or Triple H probably sign you.
Here we go. That would be the one to do. Is that what the weirdly enough? I think it's called the Cobble Box, the arena that they built for the Olympics, and I
Wow.
think that was one of the chosen venues. And it's literally I could wrestle the show and then walk to my mother's house. It's about 3 minutes away from my mum's house. So I've only wrestled in London once in my whole career, one
Wow.
time. I know when I did Ring of Honor. That was the only ever time. Everywhere else has been outside.
uh, yeah, it's definitely the. I think Wembley Stadium holds. I think it still holds like 90,000.
Yeah, but and then what's the other one? There is a new. There's a lot of new, more like it depends on what they're gonna do. As long as they don't do an open top, and then also I can't stand WrestleMania matches where there's an open top and it's daylight and then it gets dark. Like what Mania is it? It just it messes it ruins the aesthetic and
Capacity.
everything. I just yeah.
There we go. Yes.
I'm never a fan. The
Yes.
the stadium in Florida, the one they did the WrestleMania in Orlando, that one, it completely messes with my brain because it goes from daytime to night, and I'm like that's impossible.
Right.
There is no way the wrestling is still going on and it's nighttime now. But it's a weird aesthetic.
Yes. And I think it was raining for several minutes during that WrestleMania, and that was in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, I would have
But
been
they,
terrified stepping into that ring.
yes, but they was prepared, and everything. Um, they had a rooftop over top of the ring that was like, I think, 50 feet or 100 feet in the air.
Oh, is that how they did it?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and I think Vince was making sure they wasn't going to be interrupted or not. Even I think they supposed to had it during when the pandemic in 2020. I still
Mm-hmm.
remember I think Vince was making he was fine. No chance in hell WrestleMania going to be canceled.
I know that was so weird watching the matches with no one there.
Right.
It was strange.
And
It was
I think they had
so
that
uncomfortable.
right.
Hmm?
It was just amazing to see other fans watch it right online when they showed the streams of people that's in the audience.
Yes, and when people started putting stupid pictures of stupid things.
Yes. And I think they had changed. I think Vince changed it up that um they was going to be banned from never ever using it if they do anything that's inappropriately.
They're still that's the weird thing because he must have known or realized that most people who's going to do that have changed their IP addresses, and if you
Yeah.
didn't, you're an idiot.
And I still remember that one. I was just so shocked. I said, "There's no way." I thought it was part of the show at first when they had what is uh,
Which one?
I would say some idiot fan had a
The clan picture, yeah, no.
right,
And there was a picture of a grandmaster as well.
right.
I think there were a few, and a couple of swastikas. I'm like, is this
Um,
really entertaining for you guys? And it was. I was scared when the picture of Benoit popped up. I was like,
right,
somebody needs help right now.
right.
I didn't believe it either. I had to pause it and like zoom in. I'm like, oh my gosh, what? Oh, wow.
And I think the USA Network was, um, I think they wasn't happy at all right there. They thought it was part of a gimmick that Vince was planning or something. So um, I think Vince was panicking and everything, and I think that I don't think that will ever happen again in on a live wrestling show.
Or even if they do it, they'll monitor the access a little better. Because
Yes,
I'm sure it's like this. Do you not have to like the person will pop up and you have to accept them?
right.
So they must have seen it, unless you could change your picture or your display once you're already accessing everything. But I'm sure you would have to be confirmed into like the square group thing. So somebody must have seen it before they did it.
Yes,
I hope. Or they'll at
yeah,
least learn to do it next time.
right. I think they yeah, I think they learned their lesson, and that it's not gonna I don't think they're gonna ever go back to that unless another pandemic. Golly, hope it doesn't happen. Another pandemic ever happen.
No, what they'll do is they'll just use everybody in NXT because they've all have to probably be around each other all the time. If one person gets COVID or whatever it is that's gonna come out next, they'll all have it anyway.
Yes, and I still remember that I think half of the roster I think had COVID on for Raw, and they had to add NXT some of their talent to Raw, and they even had to shoot around the wrestlers that had the main angles that even one of them wasn't there or something, and it was. Hmm,
Didn't they have that rule about everyone had to get the vaccine? And what was it like 2 people refused? Or I think something like that.
yes. Mhm.
I literally, I had to. I was like, I need to fly. I haven't got a choice. What I was convinced of, and my mum used to say I was stupid saying this, is because there were so many vaccines that you had to get. Every time they injected you, it was like a little bit of a microchip. So I'm just waiting for someone to punch that button and like everyone's head explodes. That's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that's yeah,
Because it
yeah.
was like, was it four? Four they released? It could be possible.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, it was just the pandemic was tough for everyone. Even for me to be in the house that long, and
I know.
And
I know.
right.
And I couldn't even go in. You couldn't drive from Scotland or get anything out of Scotland back to England. So I didn't actually see my family until probably the following year. Like we would talk on things like this, but I didn't see anyone until the following year. And then it was just weird going back out there again. I got used to sitting at my computer watching random things on TV. I really got used to it.
Yeah, it was but it been a lot of several indie promotions never returned
Mm.
back from the pandemic. It seemed like they either went out of business, and I think Shimmer didn't even really make it back from during that pandemic.
I think it was Shine's the only thing that's still going, is it not?
Right,
But Shimmer isn't. Yeah,
right.
I know that was how tough it was. And then randomly, as soon as everything opened, like everyone got a company. It's like it went from there being probably about 10 promotions that I know of to about 30 now, all kind of in the same area. It was that free COVID money.
Right. Yeah, it was just a discipline. Yes. It was crazy in America. Even with Shakara Pro, that disappeared, and every time I think of Shakara, I see Axiom from NXT um, as a tag team, and he's actually one of the I think the remaining wrestlers that was active for Shakara
Really?
that actually made it to WWE.
And while they might make it again now, I mean, they've got a lot of roles to fill in TNA. Might
Yes,
see more.
yes, and but I know that TNA has more crowds for the last 2 years than AEW. They having a big attendance and everything, even with AEW, because once they relaunched the TNA brand, they was called Impact Wrestling for I think for 3 years, and Scott D'Amore brought the
Mm.
name TNA back, and they got a big buzz and everything.
Okay. GW, was it GWF? I always get this wrong. Global Force Wrestling. GFW. That
Yes,
disappeared, didn't it?
yes, Jeff Jarrett. He didn't really have that much success, probably because that the industry don't really look at um, like a pro wrestler as a owner of a company. They look at somebody from the corporate level that hasn't that's not a wrestler unless it's unless it's a Vince McMahon type.
Or unless it's an indie promotion where they have to make themselves the champion all the
Yes,
time.
right. Yes, and I'm it's like it's now it's like if like the major wrestling now is the corporations right there, and they can't do certain things anymore, but that are negative.
Yes, everybody has to be kind of responsible now.
Yes, even even Bubba Ray Dudley, he used to be using calling the fans any kind of names, and
No, you can't.
yeah, he couldn't use that anymore. that time when he was at a TNA live event, and yep, he couldn't use none of that describing a guy's sexuality or anything.
Oh yes, I know now.
Yeah,
No, you can't. Not anymore.
yeah, yep. And they, I think even with certain wrestlers, or they like TNA, management is, they corporate now, and they get suspended left or right. Even I think Tommy Dreamer at that time, he was
Yeah.
participating in Ric Flair's I think story on one of the networks about the plane incident. I think that was in WWE that time, and he said something about one of the women Ric Flair was with. So he got penalized by TNA for a couple months, 2 or 3 months, and I think he was suspended indefinitely and came back. And he said after that he's not doing no more. Um,
Q&As.
yeah, especially that's on national TV thing. I forgot the show they was doing. I forgot the name of it. The network. I know it's struggling right now. That Vice TV. I think it was Vice.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it is his Vice.
Yes,
I think.
and yes,
Yeah, it is Vice. I think it is Vice.
right. And I think even Flair was. I think he was. I think he was banned from WWE from that story also that aired, and it it took him several. It took him, I think, maybe a half a year to finally be back in the races with WWE.
Was that the one where he was drunk? Like
Right.
really, really, really drunk? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, that was amazing stories of WWE. I think they was from the UK and back to the United States.
Or from the plane.
Yes.
Yeah, because they all got caught up in a plane. They all, I think they had them sitting on the plane for like 2 hours before they took off, and they just cleaned out the whole bar.
Wow.
I, I, I don't blame them. They probably
Right.
shouldn't. What they should have done is just not giving it to them until the flight actually took off. Like, just gave them water on orange juice. Who
Right.
decided this was going to be a good idea? There, no good can come of this.
Right. And it did cost wrestlers their jobs, like Scott Hall and
Mm. And it cost Michael Hayes his hair.
yeah, yeah, sick, yeah, Sean Walkman,
Did he
and
chop off the ponytail or did he shave his head? I think he's there. He chopped off the ponytail. His last bit of hope. Oh,
and I thought that this could have been something used for a wrestling comedy movie.
that's true. But you can't. It's too sensitive now. They should have done the movie already,
Right,
or they should have had some wrestlers on Soul Plane.
right,
That would have been better.
right. I think that would work so plain on like a National Lampoon's movie.
Oh, I haven't watched one of those in ages.
Yes, I think maybe Paul Levesque Triple H is you never know, might be watching this and finding some some
Hey,
ideas.
as long as I get my 5%, you can have whatever you want.
Yes.
There was I was convinced a very long time ago that they were bugging like training schools, because you'd go to a training school, like this is ages ago, and literally about 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, that the character at the training school would be a new character on TV. I'm like, they're definitely bugging schools. There's microphones everywhere. Or there's a mole that's stealing all the British stuff and taking it over to America. There's a mole.
Wow. Yes. It was I think the best part of it was TNA doing the gut check in the UK. They always was doing it almost every year,
Yeah.
and they were signing all the younger wrestlers from there. And I forgot the current wrestler that's they signed right there. I, I forgot his name. One of the young black wrestlers. He was signed at 19, and he's now on TNA Impact.
Hmm. Oh, I don't even know. Was it the recent? Well, he's there now. I don't
Yes,
know.
yes. He recently worked with the Hardy Boys. In a That was the main event from last night's show on TNA Sacrifice.
I still haven't watched that yet.
Yes, and he'd been making waves wrestling with the younger guys and everything. I mean the older guys and veterans like the Fandango, Moose. He basically feuding with the whole system right there because the system was trying to recruit him,
Hmm.
and they wanted the young guy to carry their bags and stuff, and he was saying no, and he thought it was a joke, and they started trying to gang up on him until the Hardys and Joe Henry made the save.
I should watch it. I was.
Yes.
I told you I've got loads of stuff I need to catch up on.
Um, it's amazing to see Joe Henry as their world champion.
I know it was weird. That's another one that's gone too.
Yes, and everyone loves his singing and wrestling. And it's amazing how he does it well. Also, even with his music videos.
I know that was the best thing about him.
Right. And I think one of his songs went to almost number one in the UK.
Really?
Yes.
Which one?
Mm. I forgot one, I forgot the name of the song he did.
Damn. I'll Google it later.
Yes, and he even like the Royal Rumble right there. I think that was the biggest um, ovation he had ever.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's nice to see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, but I do have that feeling that he will eventually sign with WWE once his contract is up. Unless TNA management finally give him the money that he deserves.
And then he can ride off into the sunset.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And plus, it's TV. You only need like 3 good years, and then you can just do
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And and I forgot one of the women that TNA didn't pick up that was from the UK. I forgot her name. I think she was 18 or 20 that had um blonde hair that was short. I forgot her name, but I recently seen her in the UK wrestled.
Hmm.
But she did have a lot of showed a lot of promising, and she had the mic skills and everything. And I think Scott D'Amore, once he got fired from TNA, um, she hasn't been used
Hmm.
because I still remember that Scott D'Amore was trying to sign CM Punk and all Will Ospreay to WWE for TNA for $1 million. And I think their owner the owner didn't like that.
$1 million? Was it?
Yeah,
Did you say a million?
yeah.
What's wrong with that?
And I think that's a deal. And I think I I don't understand because he mainly purchased TNA six or 7 years ago, and I think that's a bargain right there for them to get more buys and everything. And
Mhm.
so Scott D'Amore was going to spend his own money because he's very wealthy and stuff, and has his other businesses and also his promotion in Canada.
Oh, that's true.
And he even I think he was trying to get I think at least 5% ownership of TNA. Instead of he willing to use his money for the pay the bigger wrestlers.
Yeah, but they'd want more money, so
Yeah, but I just hope and pray one day that the owner realized that Scott D'Amore um, can come back as a maybe as a 15% owner, and because he talk to all the he know all the dealings on how to get wrestlers, or even deals from New Japan and other places that he did, and I think that it will work. It will help TNA because the only problem is he should have hired the right marketing person.
no, that's true.
Yeah, because he got the one that used to be in WWE, and once Scott D'Amore got fired, and they start um, they start gaining more fans and everything else, and I think that was the main thing. That was what they needed was a marketing person that would get their name up out real fast, and even with better deal, also with they getting better promotion deals from a lot of products.
You never know.
Right. And I just see I just see more, I think they're gonna come back to UK as an NXT that Triple H is still trying to do a deal with Evolved. I think they're gonna be doing more shows in the UK, Canada, besides the US.
At least it would be easier. The, like,
Yes.
it, I think what they were starting off to do is like having different camps in different countries. I think they should just go back to that as well. Because there are so many countries that don't actually have wrestling at all, and it would be interesting to see like scouting purposes, if you could find somebody who's never stepped in a wrestling ring in their life, never even watched wrestling, and you could literally can make them a star.
Yes. And I know that they have like a reality wrestling show now on, I think on the I think it's on the E network that he has with they have the Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Booker T giving advice to the new students.
Hmm.
It's so like it's so like a tough enough but much um it's much better that most of everyone wants to be there.
And it will be more. I was gonna say it will be less scripted, but it'll probably be more scripted.
Right. Yes, it's just amazing that even with the parents of like Eric Bischoff, like once they said that he's the founder of the New World Order of the original Hall, Nash, and Hogan,
Mm-hmm.
and he was given advice about um, how to sell to the fans and how his book became number one controversial equals cash.
Controversy creates cash.
Cash, yes.
It is a good book, to be fair.
Yes. And I think even I think that he gave a lot of advice about to them on how to be wealthy in the wrestling business and even a lot of financial situations.
Hmm. It's him that they needed ages ago.
Yes. And I think he's the guy that woke Vince McMahon up for 84 weeks in a row.
There's, like she said, controversy creates cash, and it does. It always does. That was the best competition he ever had,
Yes.
and you can't go back to those days.
No. But I think the more or less I think with reality shows, if they like Hollywood reality shows die off, I think pro wrestling, I think that's what kind of like that wrestling was at its best. I think without the reality shows.
Yeah, because it tells you too much. It ruins the illusion. It really does.
Right.
It's better when you don't know that much.
Right. And it was like too much. Like even with trash TV, I think I think Vince McMahon capitalized on the Jerry Springers um, and the South Park comedy and everything.
I know, but you can't even do it like that anymore. You
Right.
couldn't, even if you even if you really wanted to.
No,
No.
can't do it. But I think AEW was what happened was they had a lot of their network wasn't happy of certain wrestlers using strong profanity on the TV shows, and he had to tone it down a whole lot. But I noticed they do more. Here, there we go.
I told you it doesn't like us.
Right. I guess once I brought up the word blood, I do call them more more violence than WWE does right there, because I noticed they used a lot of things, staples. You see Swerve Strickland and them using staples, and I think they went too far with the scissors right there. Him and Ricochet,
I know. I agree.
right? And I said Ricochet behind the scenes and in person, one of the nicest human beings. And come on, he why would he use scissors as his gimmick as a heel?
That's true. That's true. It
Right,
just gives Brutus Barber Beefcake mode vibes.
right. Even with the storyline of I think Shane Strickland and I mean Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page, and when Hangman Page set up his house on fire, and I just wasn't feeling that at all. It looked more like a Hollywood scene out of a
Them
movie.
wrestling. Them wrestling, yeah.
And I think what Tony Khan needs to do, start having his the bookers take over the show, let them run most of the show, and he can sometimes come in and get the final say, because it seems like he's overwhelmed with doing too much. Three shows: AEW, Ring of Honor, or Collision, and I think that he just need to gives it to guys like Orange Cassidy, that's also booking some of the show, or even Don Callis. He's not doing anything; he's just managing, and he's a good booker also. When he was in TNA and New Japan, helping out with New Japan, and I think
Mm.
they just need better maybe as them as the head bookers, and Tony Khan can take a break.
If everybody needs, he is going to burn himself out. He probably does need to delegate different jobs to, but it's the control factor. If he's booking it, he knows what's going to happen. If he lets
Right,
somebody else do it,
right.
I mean, Vince has always been like that, has he not? Miss it? Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Even with Matt, like he broke up the tag team Acclaim, Max Caster and Bowens and Billy Gunn, and it's not the same anymore. Max Caster doesn't do the rapping thing. He do the best wrestler alive gimmick, and the fans, the live audience, just boo or sit on their hands, and it's just not him losing like 2 minutes to a lot of to wrestlers. And I think he jobbed out to two. I think Kashuki, that's from New Japan,
Hmm.
Zuki, and he supposed to have been a hill, and I don't understand what two hills do meeting one doing a an angle with, and that caused a lot of people to be confused on that. Who's the who the cheer or boo?
You always boo the heel. You always cheer the face. Always, especially now. That's it. Doesn't matter. That's what you do.
Yes,
It's
and I
not cool
think
to be a bad guy anymore.
yes, and I think Tony Khan got to realize you can't make that Max Caster is no John Cena. That Max Caster need more. Um, he need the rapping gimmick way more than John Cena does.
I still miss that version though. That was the best Cena.
Yes, and I think that's what everyone liked watching AEW, because of Max Caster with him, the whole act of him coming out, do a lot of punchline rap jokes, and even as a heel or face, it got real over from the fans.
True.
And I think it's going to hopefully improve because you have Holly Cameron. She's very talented with her her music ability, wrestling, and even her as a puppeteer or anything. And she's over with the crowd.
I don't know, which is really hard to do, especially now.
Yes.
Everyone has their own opinion.
Any upcoming shows you would like to plug?
Well, I just became the new one half of the Albert Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champions. That was today. I'm wrestling very soon for Alba again on April 9th. And I will also be at Austria March 12th.
Awesome.
So wish me luck.
Yes. Yes. Any pages you want to plug for the wrestling fans? To
You
keep
can
them?
type in Ayesha Raymond, and there is only one. Amazon Ayesha Raymond, or Ayesha Raymond, Instagram. I was going to say Twitter, but it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, Facebook, and you can go on prowrestlingtees.com, and the store, Ayesha Raymond, has all my t-shirts that are available now.
Awesome. And we got to do a part two one later in the future for you to come back on this podcast.
Yes, and we have to remember the words that keep breaking the stream, and you not say them, and then it won't break.
Yes. Awesome. Yes, and you have a good night.
You too. Well, you have a good after. Is it afternoon?
Yeah, it's midnight in America. I think over there in UK is still the daytime, the early
No,
morning.
it says it's 10 to 5 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, no. But
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Yeah. All right. Have a good one.
you too.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, we're about to end this.